All right, stream is up, recording's up. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hello everyone. I'm Roden. Welcome back to Naked Trading in Albion. We're on episode 4. We made it.
Episode
4
4
deep.
Holy shit.
And we're joined today. No Caleb this week. Unfortunately, he's sick. Hopefully, you feel better, Caleb, for next time. And we are joined today by some old faces, new faces. Joined today by Oxtravelinc. He's one of our new guests today, and he is actually involved in some player services. It's going to be the bulk of our discussions today. Also, we have today Dank McBank, been with us before. Also very deep into player services as far as Mercs R Us. And didn't realize it, but they were actually already working together on a project. Didn't even realize that. Right. So before we get started, what's everyone been up to this last 2 weeks since we had a show?
Well, actually, I've mostly been on holiday.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been all over the place lately. But yeah, slowly rolling back into everything, and it's pretty amazing how fast the game is growing right now. It's sick to see how everything is slowly balanced out to what it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically what? I mean, the 30-day founders should be done by now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, you still have a couple of the other tiers, and then you have some of the what is it? What's it called? No, I think it's almost just about done, and now it's really starting to balance out all over the field. It's I did notice at some point I was starting to get a little bit groggy by that was way at the beginning though. I felt a bit of a disbalance between the beta and alpha stage players and the whole public release, but at the same time I also feel like a big part of the power shifts I've started rebalancing as well into a little bit more of a level playing field at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you follow what I'm saying with that, but
how about you, Oz? What you been up to?
Man, I've been trying to get the system up and running, to be honest. I've been so busy with that. It's just been nonstop coming in and out. But besides that, I'm out there fame farming 24/7 in Hunger Mire, getting it out.
Yeah. I've been working on my personal island. That's really all I've been doing, and just looking at the markets. I just can't pull the trigger on a lot of things, especially because of the sudden change. Well, not the sudden change, but the very noticeable change in population. Things that used to be, it's practically free. Now it's not practically free anymore because the population's changed, and people are actually bothering to value their items now.
Very true.
Yeah, like the tier 2, tier 3 stuff, it's actually picked up in price. A lot of the food items have picked up in price. And that's basically all I've been doing. I've just been doing farming on my personal island and just improving on that. What else? Yeah, that's really it. Just trying to get a really good setup for it. Just like, I don't know if you guys were in beta, but the act of cooking and the like the potion making, that takes up so much real estate on the islands. So much real estate, man. It's sick.
Yeah, you were talking about that just now. It's I actually haven't gotten to any of the cooking or potion stuff yet, but I've seen it with other aspects, like with the also with the mounts, crafters and stuff like that. Yeah, you can just fill in all your alt islands just with farm patches for that, actually.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on, actually. Working on an alt to get the money to buy another personal island on that character and just share the rights. So.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, that sounds super abusable, though.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
At the same time, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the resource prices now, but it's pretty much. It was actually to be expected that stuff like the resource prices would level out now and would start picking up more to actual use cost rather than the, hey, I mined it myself so it's free type of stuff. Because at the beginning, everyone was just power leveling and just faming up as fast as they could. and a lot of stuff has been wasted in that time. I really have stockpiles of low-end materials. The most of it I've just went up like 5-6 times in value because people were just dumping everything they could in exchange for fame. And I think that mostly has kind of leveled out now.
Yeah,
I would have
to. Really
I would have to agree with you guys for the most part on that. What I'm seeing when I'm transporting a lot of people's stuff, it's actually lower end materials coming in and going out of all of the major cities. And the fluctuation of from where it was from day one when the server's open to where it is now is like phenomenal. And I don't know if that's because people stopped maybe farming the lower end materials because they're able to farm the higher end materials. But that's basically what I'm seeing going back and forth.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's most of the people wanted to get out into the black zones and, just farm the good stuff. And why would you go back to the starter zones and farm away on the copper bars and stuff like that if you can also go hunting for 6.1 and stuff like that? But someone has to do it. I mean, the entire economy crumbles if no one does it. So it becomes this effort, like, man, I'll do it if you pay me for it. And I think that's where the equilibrium is starting to show its face at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I personally have noticed from my, excursions out there to go gathering that I'm not needing to go like 2-3 zones outside of large cities to have a good, to have a reasonable zone to farm in. I'm finding myself actually being able to gather a good amount of raw materials just immediately after a large city. I wasn't able to do that during the height of launch, that's for sure.
Definitely, this is very true. It's I noticed that I recently started a new alt just to play with. Like, I decided it was about time that I start playing the game because I actually had no clue what I was talking about for the longest time while dealing with people. So I now created an alt and I started farming it, and I immediately noticed that it was so much easier to fame up because I wasn't running into empty nodes or chopped down trees or just plain corpses everywhere anymore, but was actually running into farmable materials. So I don't know if that's a population dwindling or something, or if it's just a lot of people have gone up to the higher zones. I have not been paying attention on that level, but I do notice that the game is actually playable now. So
yeah, that's really interesting because that was actually a comment that was echoed several times. Mostly I heard it through like YouTube content creators, like, oh, it's just like they were already calling the game like not playable, dead, like 2 weeks deep into it. It's like, you guys are crazy, man. It's like this because of the high population lends itself to this kind of environment. It's nothing. You should expect this.
Definitely, no. I've also heard a lot of guys talking about how Albion was dying and stuff like that. I was like, dude, Eve, for example, has been dying for 15 years and we're still going strong. So I guess it's just a matter of chill out and see where it leads us.
I think the way I feel about this game is, Albion's been around for 2 years about in beta, so if I'm correct,
yeah,
it hasn't died yet. It's not going to die now. You know what I mean? It's just now it's just live in action, and the game is of where it is and where it stands. I think overall is in a pretty good standpoint, and it's not going anywhere.
Definitely.
No.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on to some patch notes. So I highlighted some items here that I kind of want to discuss with you guys. So this is launch patch number 4. This already happened this week.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what you guys think of some of these items that I kind of picked out of it. So I'm gonna read the actual patch line item here verbatim. So I'm not messing up the words here. So this is live now. You can now always assist, for example, heal allied characters in the Outlands, regardless of PvP flagging status. That sounds really broken to me. Like, that's so abusable. So what that reminds me of is like out of corp logistics during a war in EVE Online. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yep, definitely. And I think people are gonna abuse the shit out of that. And it's yeah, because I was reading that part of the patch notes and was going like, is this actually what they mean, or am I reading this correctly? Because if so, then they're in for a shitstorm on that one. It's
yeah, I'm not sure what the intent was with that one. Like, are they thinking that, oh, this is going to be a buff to healing spec mains, that they don't have to flag themselves?
I guess so, or they are listening to the player base who are saying they're just good Samaritans who are healing random people and don't want to die for it. But it either way doesn't really make sense. I mean, as soon as you start meddling into a fight, then you should suffer the consequences, right?
Yeah, I mean, as long as that action equals flagging, I guess that's not too bad. You just can't. You know what I mean?
The part that I personally don't like about it is you're looking at a GVG aspect now. So you've got 5-man teams that are out there, and they're able to be healed by outer parties. So
yeah, exactly.
5v5 GVGs, they're no longer 5v5s. It's like 40 on 5. You know what I mean? Because your outside teams are healing those 5 particular people that are doing it. I don't think that's fair.
Definitely, you can now kind of spearhead. Yeah, Zergs are gonna look a whole lot different then, basically. I mean, if you, you can just spearhead your entire bunch of army of healers with a bunch of guys to fight it. But I'm curious how that's gonna pan out.
Yeah, because I'm actually a healing main, and I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have some fun with this. It just sounds like I'm not. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the context, but just using that statement, it feels like I don't think they realize how broken that is. How kind of, you know what I mean, like how broken they just made that interaction.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we are completely wrong on this one, and they mean something entirely different. Because if we're right about this, then shit.
That's bad. That's really really bad.
Yeah, that's gonna suck.
Yeah. All right. So some other items here. They had generally, I think, quality of life changes, positive quality of life changes to journals. So that's good. Also, they altered the mechanics for invulnerability bubble acquired when entering a new area. So that's really really good. Actually, let me go just link this real quick.
Linkage.
That's the link, guys, on Twitch chat, for if you guys want to follow along. So I think this is really generally a good change for the invulnerability bubble. You can no longer automatically removed when moving into a different area, including the one you came from. So that's kind of cool. So just in case you go in there, it's like, oh, a bunch of bad guys, let me go back. Let me just moonwalk out of here. So you're not, you don't lose your bubble, your invul bubble. So that's good. It's still removed after a certain amount of time. That's good. It's still removed by moving a certain distance away from your entry point. Makes sense. And they made adjustments to PvE chests. Loot drop rate has been increased by around 10 times. Fragment drop rate has been decreased by around 5 times. Silver drop rate stays the same and has roughly been halved. I'm not too sure on that. I personally haven't been doing a whole lot of those chests. Have you guys?
I have, actually, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it doesn't feel like it's changed much at all. What I have noticed, because I do a lot of farming in Hungermire, like a lot of farming in Hungermire, the drop rate from mobs has increased, but from chest, if anything, I feel like it's gotten significantly worse.
Okay, well, hopefully, I'm imagining that they're reviewing the effects of these changes, and hopefully we'll have the cadence to actually make adjustments as needed. Reduce the increased spawn rates of T4 resources somewhat. I didn't realize that actually increased, but I guess they did.
Oh yeah, definitely. Didn't you notice a couple of weeks back that all of a sudden all the T4 prices started dropping?
That's true. That's true. Is that what it was?
Yeah, basically. That's what it came down to. Okay. It's they decided to beef it up a lot because I believe because they kind of saw the player base had moved into the T4 farming zones overall, and a lot of people were complaining that there was no resources available to actually level up. So they decided to, I believe, double the spawn rate for T4 and another one. And for the longest, yeah, that's what they kept up for a long time. But I'm guessing that's also what you saw, that you didn't need to venture out into a lot of faraway zones to farm materials.
Yep, definitely. All right, next one. Let's go over the roadmap details. That's just really good. It's good to see kind of the plan of Sandbox Interactive. You know, right after launch, right after like the founders period, and now they're going to regular development cadence, right? I really like what's coming up in the near future for the game. This one. So for the Joseph update, that's what they're calling it. They're going to be bringing a PvP arena, basically.
Yes.
So that's really, really good. But I don't. It sounds like the way they worded the item, it's you don't lose anything. It sounds like I don't know, like a practice place. That's what it sounds like.
So basically, does it mean that it's going to be somewhat like what people are doing right now in the bank area?
I think so. Let me read through the item real quick, make sure I'm not messing this up.
At least that's what I think it feels like. I think they're trying to bring like the aspect of something from like World of Warcraft's arena to here, where you can still earn some type of a pointage, but not have to worry about losing your gear. Because
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
the world of Albion is savage, you know.
It is. All right, so here's the actual article. The arena allows players to test and improve their player versus player skills in non-deadly 5 versus 5 matches that last about 10 minutes. So they didn't really go over what they mean by non-deadly. So I'm imagining you don't lose gear, and maybe you don't.
I'm getting so many ideas for this. That's awesome. Perfect. Okay, so we will be seeing player-run tournaments.
Yeah, instead of like doing it in people's islands.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's got that like the Fight Club feel, doing it in someone's garage or something like that. So that's really, really interesting. Like that's good though, I think games that kind of have that open world PvP aspect, just because you have the ability to do open world PvP doesn't mean people will actually partake in it. Sometimes they just want to go through the motions of a fight without actually losing anything.
Yeah.
Call us dirty casuals, but it is a game.
Well, yeah. No, but I can definitely imagine it's very hard to balance something like that. I mean, if you create a game where you say like, all right, so savagery is what we strive for, then of course you're gonna run into situations where people are gonna lose a lot of stuff that they didn't actually want to lose. But if you protect it too much and kind of hover your hand over it, then you're gonna lose out on that hardcore player base who gives the game the vibe that you're going for. So I guess balancing that is one of the toughest aspects of this game right now, because there's so many points where SBI can basically buckle and go like, all right, you know what, we're gonna ease it down a little bit. But yeah, I actually think stuff like this makes a lot more sense to kind of create like a filthy casual 5 versus 5 zone.
Yeah, it's fine, right? I mean, because sometimes, short of having a very comprehensive test server, you're gonna need something like this to test theories.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, so that's the first update. The next one is K, and it's going to be focusing around GVG. So this is really, really good. So I'm glad that they're actually addressing. So the way the development phases of Albion strikes me as very well thought out. Like, yeah, I had a really long beta period and alpha period and all that stuff, but just seeing how they're planning out their development, it's very, very intelligent and thought out. And at the same time, I kind of wish they actually have done this already, like right at launch. But I guess they needed some information too, you know. So what's going to be the focus of the K updates? We're going to focus on GVG. And it'll be focusing on balancing territory invasions to involve guild power rankings. And they want to touch upon territory rating as well, as far as... see what they put here. We also hope to include territory rating in the K update. Territory rating allows players to steal some of the owning guild's reward points income by killing all the guards in a watchtower territory, thus replacing them with their own racketeers, which need to be cleared by the owning guild to return to the territory to full productivity. That's going to force a lot of action.
Wow.
A lot of action.
And it also adds a PvE element in a way.
Yeah, it's true. All right, so really looking forward to that stuff. Another thing at the very end of this article they put in is, yeah, we're working on GVG stuff, working on PvP stuff, and we acknowledge this. So for the updates beyond this, 3 to 4 months after these updates, they're going to be focusing on more PvE related elements. So that's really, really good, I think, to actually acknowledge where you're going and where you're focusing on and not leaving behind aspects of your game, because it can't just be, I think most MMO these days kind of pigeonhole themselves into one aspect of their game and leaving behind everything else, which shortens its lifespan.
True.
The only update that I really want that would make me super, super excited, and I'm pretty sure the rest of Albion would care about this as well, is when you right-click a name, there's an invite button.
Oh my god. Yeah, like the guild stuff's kind of wonky, right? I mean, that's actually a really good point. Guild items, right? I mean, as far as guild management.
Yeah, which they'll work on, I think. They're going to change that aspect of the game shortly. It's in one of these patches. It's coming.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, so those are the updates that are coming up. And now we'll move on to kind of like the meat of our discussions for it. The main reason we have Ox and Dank here is because they're genuinely like entrepreneurs of player services. so like legit.
Say that again.
So Albion is about 50 days old past launch, something like that.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah,
it doesn't even feel like it's been that long.
I know. So, but at the same time, it's had a lengthy alpha and beta period. You've had groups that are formed that were formed during that time that are still here. You have mega groups right now that are owning much of the black zones. All right, but then you have guys like these that focus on like right into the weeds of the player interactions, right? What do you as a player need to improve your quality of life in the game? And that's kind of falls in the realm of player services. So if I can first start off with Ox, and then maybe after that, Dank, if you can explain kind of what services are you guys are involved with, and kind of like the elevator pitch of you guys as services.
All right. Well, for starters, Oxtravelinc kind of gives up the whole concept of what I'm doing here. I'm a courier service for the most part. I formed a courier service called Zigzag Travel Incorporated within the game, and I've basically taken the idea directly from Eve, because there's a service in that game called PushX or Red Frog that basically brings your materials and goods from one city directly to another city, and that's what I've created here. And by doing that, it's been quite a trip, to be honest. I've got a lot of people that are either A, just too lazy to do it themselves, or B, don't feel safe enough to move it to the red zone or the black zone. And that's where my services come into effect. I'm willing to do that with a 100% collateralized system. So if I lose your stuff paid out, nothing to using my services. And that's pretty much it.
Nice. Have you actually already been running any of the black zone contracts?
I have done one. I've done one, and it panned out perfectly fine. And the way I do that, actually, believe it or not, is this is a whole nother topic, but I'll break into it real quick. So I aligned myself with one of the biggest Zerg alliances inside of Albion, which is Arch. We're 9,000 people strong, and I've had nothing but great support from the group. If I need to run something through the Black Zone, I can do it with 400 people behind me, and no one wants to get involved in that. Whether we're good PvP peers or bad PvPers, I've got manpower to do that with.
Nice.
Are these I'm not familiar with them, but are they a beta group?
Arch? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that we're the biggest alliance actually in all of Albion. We're about 10,000 people strong.
Nice. All right. No. All right, go ahead, Dank. Go ahead. Let's go to your elevator pitch.
Shit, I suck at elevator pitches, but let me see if I can get this straight. So, way at the beginning of Albion, I talked a little bit about that in the previous, and the last time that I was here on the show. I was talking about my intentions to fill a couple of the voids that I ran into when playing the game. Like the first thing that I started looking for was basically all the player services that were available to us. And the first thing that I ran into was there's no contract system. So I started tinkering with ways of how you would set up contracts between players. And then from there on, I started thinking about all the things you could do with that. And this ultimately led into a whole range of player services. Like, for example, if you're a solo player and you want to go out into the Black Zone, but you don't want to commit to a bigger group, you still want to party up with people. For this purpose, I decided, well, you know what? What if you could pay a couple of guys to trill around with you and keep you safe while you're farming away? This actually became the very first service that I started offering on my platform, Mercs or Us, where solo players would just run, basically go and look for a team of escort players who would take them out into the Black Zone and provide them safety. But this kind of escalated quickly, where at some point I had 2-3 complete Zerg teams on staff. I had about 20 people who were running around providing services for safety. There was a whole network of careers I was working with, and then there was a whole bunch of Black Ops going on. So I decided I had to merge it all into one channel, into one platform, which became the Discord channel Mercs or Us. Basically, my job right now is I am a broker of player services, and it really doesn't matter what it is. I can find couriers for people who need stuff moved. I can find couriers for organizations who are looking for couriers. I can find a GVG team to defend a guild. I can find infiltrators to provide intelligence on enemies. I can basically just, you name it. And the fun part of it is that I don't actually log in to do any of this. Up until last week, I wasn't even playing the game, but still a lot of this stuff was going on in the channels and on my phone and on the chats and everything.
So you wielded that much influence without being in game.
Basically, it's like for just until this week, I didn't even get dressed in game. I'm still zipping around naked. And I just decided that it was about time that I played the game, because I ended up in discussions between guilds or alliances where they were talking about game mechanics. I just didn't have a clue what the hell they were talking about. So, but still, I had to bluff my way through it because, well, yeah, these guys know what's up and they expect me to know what's up. So I learned a lot about the meta game of this thing without even stepping foot into a Black Zone one single time. So yeah, but that's more or less what I do. I am a naked dude zipping around town, providing intelligence and services to people who have money.
That's true. I do the same thing, but mostly because I trade in multiple markets.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's one thing we have in common. I mean, when you're trading, you don't have to get dressed. So.
Nope. All right. So my next question to both of you guys: prior to your, starting your player services here in Albion, do you have any prior experience of this in other games?
Well, I don't have any for say prior experience of it, but I've used other services that are exactly like this. Like for example, once again through Eve, there's a player service called Red Frog Inc., which does exactly what I'm doing here. And they've made it so that it's flawless. So I took that idea from there and I brought it to Albion because I figured, you know what, there's probably other players in this game that need to get their stuff moved from other cities. Either A, don't have the time to, or B, don't want to spend the time doing it. And that's what I'm providing for that player. And so far it's been pretty successful.
Yeah, and the one thing that really strikes me with your service is there's a website integration there. There's things happening, under the hood that really lends itself. Hey, this, to be honest, if I knew nothing of your service and someone just linked it to me, I go, hey, this dude's got a website. That seems pretty legit, man. I'm gonna try this out.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, that took a lot of time. I've been working pretty hard with the developers of Albion Online 2D.com. And his name is Strange, actually, and he's got a whole entire database set up for just about anything you can possibly need. If you want to look up an item, you can do that. If you want to look up on a map of where it's at to get from point A to point B, he can do that. So I went to that guy and I was like, hey, Strange, man, I've got this idea in my head that I need to make happen. Can you help me with it? And dude, he was so innovative about it. He's like, well, what do you need done? And we sat down and we talked about it. I'm like, well, I need a form that basically you can fill out that tells me from point A to point B and calculates per threat the amount of weight that you want and the collateral all added in and gives you an end set price. And he goes, gotcha. He came back to me 2 weeks later with that type of information. And the form that I show you, which is on albiononline2d.com, is what he provided. We've tweaked it a little bit now, and it's working flawlessly. So you basically, you log onto the site, you put on how much weight total in kilograms that you want me to carry for you. You give me a start point and an end point, and you put the amount of collateral that you want there. And through whatever formula that he's using in the back end, it goes ahead and submits a price, shows you the price, and if you agree with it, you hit submit, which then goes ahead and sends it to my back end ordering system. So I know that your order is ready to go, which I can go ahead and contact you in game, and we can start the process of getting your product to where you need it to go. It's really inventive stuff, to be honest. It's a phenomenal website.
I just want to verify, just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. You got to work directly with the SBI dev?
No, it's not an SBI dev. It's a services dev that basically he runs his own site. So Albion Online 2D.com it has nothing really to do, well, it has a lot to do with Albion, but he's not a dev for SBI. He's a dev for his own website, which is why I'm saying dev. He created, have any of you guys used Albion Online 2D by chance?
I've seen it when it first, yeah, I've used the website, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the creator of that site is the one that has created my forum. He actually hosts my services off of his site for him. It doesn't even charge me anything. His whole idea behind it is if it helps Albion community total as a whole, he's willing to do it for you if he has the time.
That's cool, man. So I can imagine that you're of course made yourself more familiar with the EULA and all that stuff. Were there any, for both of you guys, were there any challenges that were kind of bound to the EULA that you had to overcome in order to promote your service?
Yes, and I'm glad that I actually went to that. I had Gluttony from Albion that sat down and talked to me about the service in general. Like, well, how are you getting from point A to red zone to point B in red zone carefully? And I told him my idea of how I wanted to do it, and then I found out that it was actually against the EULA, and I'm glad because I went and talked to one of the moderators inside of the Albion Discord, Elsa, and I was like, hey, I've got this idea of how I want to secure my goods from point A to point B. Is this doable? And within seconds, she linked me a post from the EULA. She's like, if you do that, you're going to get banned. And I said, okay, well, what is that? My original idea, what I was going to do, which now I'm not, which is where Mercs R Us comes in, if I need them, is I wanted to go ahead and run a second account and scout for myself. But you can't do that because it's a direct interaction of gameplay and unfair to other players, which in the wrong one, it makes sense to me. So that's one of the major hiccups when I start.
So that's because I know we spoke of this before, just so that our viewers kind of understand the context. So let's say I'm sitting in my living room. My desktop is running Albion. I have a laptop that's also running Albion, I can't. I'm breaking the EULA by having both of them log on and me controlling them at the same time. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. Haven't really gotten into depth with you with that, but you can't do anything with a second account that's going to affect direct gameplay with other.
Got it. Okay.
So you can't PvP. You can't PvP with 2 accounts.
That's good. That's good though. To be honest, I mean, I wish. Oh, losing you a bit, Ox.
Yeah, I'm breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me again? Check, check.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I apologize, guys. I'm actually hosting this through my my phone, so I don't have the best of internet because I am in Arbor.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in a barracks right now.
Gotcha. All right, cool. All right. How about you, Dank? Did you Did you have any hiccups starting up your services?
Well, not really, actually. It's way at the beginning. I was getting a little bit concerned when the big ban wave started with all the gold sellers and stuff like that, because all of a sudden everyone that I was working with started to become a little bit fearful of what would happen if they started handing me vast sums of money with seemingly no reason behind it. So I went ahead and asked around with the devs and the moderators and stuff like that, and I told them, like, hey, yeah, so as a third party, because that's basically what I am right now, what am I in trouble if someone out of the blue gives me, let's say, 10 million silver without me actually ever doing anything in return? And the answer was no, because we don't track. We don't really track who's giving what to who. We only track the origin of the silver and gold. And if the trail of gold comes from a verified gold seller or something like that, then you're in trouble. But apparently they have ways of making sure that people don't get banned for this kind of stuff. So they basically gave me a green light on that, like, hey, you can accept any amount of money you want, you can take any amount of items you want from anywhere, because what we are looking for is not what you what you would think on the surface is what's going on. So this was actually my primary concern, was if someone gives me a shit ton of money, am I gonna get banned for it? But that was solved pretty quickly.
Gotcha. So if the main observation I have right from the get-go is hearing you guys' business models and how you approach the services meta. You guys are trying to reach the same set of customers, but at the same time, your actual execution is very, very different. Ox's execution seems to be more on the technical side. You know, lots of back-end information that needs to be done. A different website to do orders, etc. And Dank, yours is more of it's like talking your way through the talking your way through the problem, and then finding someone that can provide the solution. And you, like you mentioned, being like the broker of this services, right?
Yeah. It's basically right now I'm a broker of doom, so to say. It's but every situation is unique. Like, I've been looking for all kinds of ways to figure out a template for pricing and stuff like that. And outside of Courier and Safari runs, I couldn't find anything that would fit a template, because most of the stuff that I'm doing right now is the Black Ops stuff, is the way I like to call it right now. And this is all stuff that happens outside of the Mercs or Rust channel right now, and this is just direct interactions with players requesting very specific services. And the only way that I can actually price this is based on what feels right. So if I would come up to them and give them a forum like, okay, so if you want this particular guy killed X times, then that's just not going to work for what I do right now. So instead, it all becomes about, I don't know, what exactly am I selling, you know? And this was basically the biggest question that I had. Like, am I selling information per se, or am I selling a kill, or what is it? And then I was like, no, I'm selling a sense of satisfaction, or a sense of getting that one step up over someone else and providing them the "I got something you don't know." And this is very hard to put a price tag on, especially because every time it requires a completely unique set of hurdles to cross to get there. So yeah, I really have to silver tongue my way around both parties to get each and every deal going, which also means that sometimes I'm hugely underselling stuff and subsidizing it out of my own pocket, and another time someone comes in and basically gives me a bankroll for a year. But yeah, it's all completely very, very shady black book stuff that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that gives it so much life. You know?
Oh yes. Oh man, I got some stories on that front. It's yeah. Speaking of life, I am yeah. That's the biggest part that I'm doing it for right now. Is I'm receiving so many tears from all over the gamer base right now, and it's absolutely brilliant.
You need to make like a Kugu post. That's what you need to do.
Well, shit. Actually, I've been trying to create what is it? Forum alts and stuff like that for certain pieces of information that I run into. Because right now I'm at a point where people just voluntarily are starting to hand me information about other guilds or other alliances in the hope that I can pass it on to someone who can, just optimally use it.
Is that due to the nature of the bounty hunting?
The bounty hunting is a part of it, but also I guess at some point the word got out that if you were looking for this type of stuff, you might want to check with me. And I think the bounty hunting was one part of it, but to be honest, the bounty hunting per se is something that I'm not very enthusiastic about in Albion right now. There's the logistics of setting up a bounty hunting operation are just insane when it comes to Albion. It's in EVE you used to have locator agents and stuff like that, or you could just camp out a gate and wait for someone to pass by. In Albion, if I want to place a bounty on someone, basically it means I need to place an infiltrator within the guild of that person and stalk someone for a week. It really gets creepy at some point just for one single kill. But at the same time, it did mean that the bottleneck of a lot of the merc operations became intelligence. So yeah, by now I got a lot of that.
That's interesting. So you have become the embodiment of black market information. That's what it sounds like.
Well, it's at the same time, I don't think a lot of people know it yet. The people who do know it are having a lot of fun with it, and the people who don't are basically screwed sometimes.
Wow. All right.
What's that saying that goes on from I think it was like the Chris Rock show? You're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn today. Exactly. It's just amazing. I mean, like, am I wrong in saying this is an aspect of the game that a lot of players don't experience right now, or didn't think you can experience right now? Like what we're doing right here, you know, talking about like, because we're talking about like a game within a game right now, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, it's that's kind of the fun of it. I mean, I noticed that once I started playing the game this week, it's actually pretty silly that
like in game.
Yeah, like in game. It's like the first time since the launch of the game that I actually started playing. But it's my entire game window right now is Discord, and through there I'm playing on a completely different level. Like how do you put it?
You're legit like one of like the big time EVE guys, but in Albion. Like don't even log in, but then controlling like thousands of players in game lives.
Well, it's funny because one of the things that and that is hugely popular is tracking convoys and stuff like that, or tracking Zerg movement, or tracking GVG stuff and stuff like that. So when, for example, a whole Zerg logs in somewhere to form up and go like, hell yeah, we're gonna have some fun and we're gonna wreck shit in this zone, I get a ping and I send it on to someone else, and their Zerg gets wiped, and well, there goes their entire forum up, and they go like, well, you know what, let's not do that again. And meanwhile, operation success, you know.
Yeah. Question for you guys. So this is kind of like hypothetical. So now that you guys have had an opportunity to describe your business model, a little bit of what goes into the process, what do you think SBI's move is going to be if they see a proliferation of this type of meta gameplay? Specifically of the kind of types of player services that you guys engage in.
Well, go ahead, Dank.
Well, I actually think that for a big part, you and I are going to say the same thing. In-game contract system.
Yes. Exactly what I was just going to say. It's 100% needed, man.
Yes, definitely. Just a post office. You know, it's something simple like that. Like you drop off your stuff in one city and you say like bring it somewhere else, and you can pick it up in another city.
Correct. I think if they were to implement that somehow, exactly like, and I keep going back to Eve, but unfortunately Eve had it right. They did it right. They need a way where you can set up a contract in one city, set up the collateral of what you need done, send it to the person that you want it to bring it to, and you do it, and there's no interaction. And the reason because of that is because it's so hard to coordinate with people. Sometimes I'm not online. Sometimes they're not online. Sometimes we're both online, but someone else is busy. You set up a contract, we can eliminate the whole part of me ever even needing to meet face to face with a player. You know what I mean? They just they put their goods where they need it. I bring it to where they want it. The contract's under. The system pays me out. They get their goods, and we're good. And if something fails, the collateral gets paid out. Like I don't think it would be hard to do. It would probably take a little bit of time, but I know it's definitely a feasible option that they need to do. They need it. I think the people of Albion need it.
Yeah, but I guess at the same time, well, yeah, maybe not anymore. But at the beginning, I guess you also somewhat enjoyed the bare bones nature of the game in the fact that it wasn't there right now. I mean, think of how much you have had to invent on your own just to run this service.
That's true.
But I do guess that now that you've done that, then it's just going to become an annoyance at some point, and it's a very easy game mechanic to fix, I guess.
Already an annoyance.
Yeah, I mean, contract system, that makes a lot of sense. As far as you guys know, as I'm not very familiar with like how the API works or what API is even available in the game, but are we kind of heading towards the direction where there will be more similar player services in the future based on the tools that hopefully SBI will give players? Or is that something we don't want to happen?
And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like competition. I briefly discussed that with you in the other channel the other day. But you know what? It's needed, man. This is a sandbox game. People like myself and Dank are creating content for other people, and if other people want to come into that field, I welcome it. I really do. The more player services that we have out there, the more players it's going to bring to this type of game. And this is what it's all about. It's the players making more content for the other players. And this is what you do in a sandbox. You know what I mean?
Definitely true.
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm pretty amazed that I haven't actually seen any ISK doublers yet.
I'll be honest.
I mean, sure they will.
They're out there, definitely. But I think one of the last types of services you'll probably see, because it's so kind of removed from in-game gameplay, right? The actual market play. Right now, they don't nearly have the tools necessary to really intelligently operate out of several market hubs because they're completely separate from each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen eventually here, and I think the Istabas will probably come along, and we all know about them and how they worked in Eve. But I think people right now as a whole are scared, like absolutely scared of getting banned and handling any type of silver. Granted, I know it's okay if you're not doing anything wrong, but if you take a look at all the gold farmers that were in this game when the game first launched, it was ridiculous. And I don't know about you, Dank. I haven't even seen one in the past couple of weeks since they launched their DDoS protection. So whatever Albion did as a whole, they were savage on the gold sellers and didn't put up with any of it. And they're not even, I don't even see them anymore.
That's
Yeah,
true.
definitely.
I don't see any talk in local chat or anything like that.
Yeah, like it's basically just gone away.
Yeah, this is definitely true. I mean, I think they put up a very, very solid meat shield on that level, and yeah, it has pacified in a way, but it's a very clean playing field right now to implement a lot of these new things now.
From what I understand, the way Albion did it, and this is just hearsay, they didn't go after the individual gold seller. They went after the banks. They basically went to PayPal and they went to the credit card companies and like, listen, there are people that are doing illegal things with your companies and you're allowing it to happen. And if you continue to allow it to happen, we're going to sue you directly. And those companies went ahead and said, you're right. We're going to go ahead and stop this. And they cut them off.
That's brilliant.
Wow.
That's balls, man. That's balls.
I've never seen a gaming company do that. And so I think SBI did it right.
That's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, that's a lot of balls, man. I mean, that's good though. I mean, it's a shame that, like, because it's not like MMOs as a genre is new. It's not like this type of game is new, but they're really taking the business end of it very, very seriously.
And they need to, man. Stuff like that can break the bank and it can end a game like this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. All right. So next question for you guys. So kind of talked about how this has affected your experience in the game, kind of like in the game, but not really in the game. Based on what you guys had to do to get your business up and running, the different people you need to talk to, the technical knowledge you had to gain, would you change anything in your business model if you knew a little bit more information before, taking that first step?
No, not really. Actually, it's I don't know. It's very, very easy to go Captain Hindsight on something like that because how do you say it? It's a very custom setup. Like if you could just unleash a template on this type of business and follow the steps and you get there. Then yeah, of course, there are a lot of things that I've done wrong. Like the biggest thing that I really, really regret is that a week after setting everything up, I went on a 2-week holiday, which
yeah, you did.
which kind of hurt everything on a major scale because it just dropped like a bunch of people in the channel and like, hey guys, enjoy, and I was off. But no, I don't know. There's not a single route. There's not a single template, and a lot of the things that I have done so far to get to this point were just snap decisions. Like, okay, this opportunity pops up right now. Are you going to take it or are you not going to take it? Also, a lot of questions like, okay, how dirty do you want to go? This was something that, from a moral stance, I've run into a couple of situations where I knew that I was really, that I could really mess up someone's gameplay at some point. But at the same time, doing it would provide a lot bigger opportunities down the road. So I went fuck it on those ones, and I think I made the right call on those ones as well. But I don't think I would do any of that different right now.
Okay. How about you, Ox?
Well, man, everything that I've done from point A to point B has been a learning experience for me, to be quite honest. Because I took an idea, like I said, from a different game, and I've never provided a service like this in any other game I've ever played. So I took an idea and I ran with it. I met up with some great people. For Dank, for example, we sat down and we talked about it. in depth, and he's like, know what, this sounds like a good idea. Let's go ahead and get it up and running. And I kind of partnered with Dank for the most part when he's around. And and no, there's nothing really in my business model or my service that I think I would change. The only thing I think I might change is hiring some people, because the orders are flowing through, and it's kind of hard for me to do with one man. But that's about it. I'd
Okay.
like to get to the part where Dank, like, he doesn't really do much. He just sits back and lets other people do it for him. And I kind of want to get to that point.
That's the
Kinda jealous
goal,
Dank.
right? Playing but
Jealous
not
Dank.
playing.
Yep.
Hey, shit. Well, if that's what you're looking for, I got some people to work for you.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
I've talked to a few of them, and my business model, what I would like to do, and maybe this is the good time to throw this out there. What I'm basically looking to do is, within my ordering system, is setting up workers. I want to offer them 100% reward, where they're able to come in and they're able to do the order, and whatever the payout for that order is what they get to keep. Well, how do I make money then, is what you're going to ask. Very simply, I'm giving them the opportunity to use my backend and my servers and my material, hence my ordering system, to track their orders and so forth. And all I want is a 3% cut weekly. And I think that's totally fair, like totally fair.
So you're gonna run it into a subscription service.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what I'm looking to do.
Makes sense.
Where the system handles all of it. And if you don't want to pay me, that's fine. I mean, I'll get my money one way or the other, either through
All right.
Works or some other way.
Yep, you heard it first here. Franchising in Albion. Good to go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's actually a really good idea.
Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna ping you after this show, because I got a couple of names I want to shoot your way that you could start using right away. Actually,
Awesome,
I actually
awesome.
have a couple from Mercs itself that have approached me. The only way is I don't have any way to track it yet, and that's what I'm working on with Strain from Albion 2donline.com, to implement that into the system somehow. But we're getting there, and we're working on it.
nice, great.
Awesome. And my last question for you. What advice would you give players who want to emulate your gameplay style? Like, don't do it.
I want to give them any advice because I don't want the competition. I'm just kidding. If you're going to sit down and you're going to make a service, sit down and make a service. Don't be scared to do it. It's either going to fail or it's going to take off. I mean, it's an idea. You got to run with it. You know what I mean? And then if you do, just make sure you put the work into it. Make sure you study what you want to do and understand exactly what you're getting yourself into, because gameplay wise, man, I don't have a lot of time to do anything for myself. I'm too busy doing everything for everybody else. But it's making me money, and that's what I care about. I care about the silver and the gold. So
Well, that's good.
That's my advice.
Yeah, for the most part, I actually agree with you there. It's definitely the step towards running player services is very, very small. So far, it's been as easy as joining my channel. But no, I actually think I've spoken to a lot of people who want to start running player services, or just want to do career stuff, or want to help out with any of the Safari stuff or whatever. And it's just as simple as saying, I'm doing this from now on. Would you like to give me a try? And especially the beginning part is always the toughest, because no one will trust you and everyone will hate you. This is just a given. But I guess then it's a matter of don't give up. And at some point it will start snowballing and things will happen.
True. So this is me kind of like spitballing and putting on my tinfoil hat. But I imagine as things progress, are large alliances gonna need to encompass some of the activities that you guys offer into their own kind of daily routine of being a large alliance to some degree?
No comment.
I can't say I really have no comment, but I can give you an idea out there what I'm looking for being my courier service. I specifically placed myself in one of the biggest alliances in Albion, and I did that intentionally. Not just didn't wake up one day and be like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and join this 10,000 man group worth of people. I did that for my own protection. What I would like to see happen, which is the same exact thing that happened in Eve, is that the alliance and their leaders were able to come together and perform a nipper. Basically, what that is a set amount of time for a set courier service, whether it be me or another one that's out there, to be able to deliver goods between alliances, so we can start a whole entire trade hub out there in the Black Zone. And I'm working on that. How I'm going to get there, I can't really say, but I think it's going to happen eventually.
That's really interesting, because that's something that's... This is just an observation of mine. Every time I see a game that says open world PvP, full loot drop, the first thing that ends up happening, one of the first things that ends up happening, is players go well out of their way to curb that, to make it safer. How does that, you know what I mean? So I'm like, come on, guys. But it's really cool to actually hear you, Ox, say, kind of like, and just being honest with it, you know, coming from where we come from in EVE, and hey, this is what potentially can happen out there. Yeah, that, like, the meta is real, the social meta is real.
Yeah. I mean, it's a necessity, man. Eventually, these major alliances are going to own all these zones out there, and if they want to keep them, they're going to have to work with each other. I mean, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, can't
Either
be an
that,
island.
or they're gonna lose them.
Yeah, you can't be an island unto yourself, right? You need friends. You need more friends than enemies, hopefully.
You don't have to like the people you're working with, but you need them to provide, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That'll be an interesting thing to actually discuss. I am absolutely oblivious to like the diplomatic scene in the game. I don't know if you guys have any information on that, but that's something really. I think that ties into player services pretty neatly.
Actually, the diplomatic scene right now in the game is, it's actually pretty straightforward at this point. I mean, if you look at the map, at the in-game map, and you pick a random guild, you look at their territory, you look at their neighbors, then chances are high they are fighting their neighbors. And this is, for the most part, what I've been seeing so far, is that most people consider each other a threat as long as they live next to each other. And then from there on, some of the feuds that eventually grow into like long-living hatred and stuff like that, a lot of that has not really happened yet, I think. So yeah, the only thing, a couple of the groups have already started gaining some notoriety. Like, for example, I mean, all love to you, Ox, but a lot of people I speak to really hate Ark.
Is their size?
Well,
I can tell you why they hate us, man. We have a phenomenal territory system. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the Reddit post about Ark. We don't own a lot of territories, but here's the thing. We don't need to either. So we might be out there in, let's say, one of the starting zones, and you've got, you know, people that say they own the territory system, like Oops, for example. They've got the farming field that's there. That's cool. You can have the farming field, but we got the rest of the player field that's out there, because you can't leave your farming field safely.
Oh, wow. So, super interesting.
Yeah. People don't like us, but we do what we do, and we're good at it.
There you go.
Yeah, well, yeah, that definitely is bound to get you a tag on your head. But it's people don't hate you unless you're effective. So I guess you guys have been doing very good. But yeah, I guess you are an example, or Ark is an example of gaining more notoriety than just hey, you're my neighbor and we're not friends, so let's start killing each other. And I guess that's something we're going to start seeing more and more as the game progresses. But for now, a lot of people are too busy just fighting off their neighbors and trying to mind the Zerg pins. But the diplomatic map, yeah, that's as much as I've seen of it. Or as much as I can tell of it right now.
I bet. All right, well, that's pretty much really all I had, unless you guys had anything else you want to tangent into.
I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, man.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. I've been meaning to kind of get this type of show since the beginning, since the pilot. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, because it was just so interesting to me, because this is like the meta of the meta, man. When the players start doing their own thing outside of the box of the game, you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So, All right, so we'll go to our shout outs here, unless you guys have anything else. Let's start off with you, Ox, if you have any shout outs.
Shout outs. Well, I like once again I do want to thank Arch for what they provided to me. I went to them with the aspect of exactly what I wanted to lay down, and they came back and endorsed me almost immediately, and they loved it. I'm in awful company with Gluttony SDS. It's been nothing but amazing, to be honest. I also want to thank Dank, because we sat down together at the very earlier this, and we kind of brainstormed a lot, and it's gotten to where it is now. And I think a lot of my success has been brought from Marks RS, because I kind of threw their name out there, and well, they backed it up 100% too. So that's about it, man. And Strange from Albion Online 2D.com has done phenomenal things for me, and then none of this would have been possible without him. So, and then you, of course, man. You getting my name out there as well with this show, and that's a great service you're providing to Zigzag, and I appreciate that as well.
Hey, no problem, man. The media meta is real. It's so real. All right, well, how about you, Dank?
Yeah, I got a bunch of shout outs, and most of the people who know who I'm talking about, the shout out is to you. I'm not gonna name you. And then of course Caleb. Well, yeah, too bad you're not here right now, but would have been fun. Rodin, thanks for setting this up. And Ox, we're gonna be talking about this stuff a lot more after this.
Sure.
And I promise you, I won't be off for another month. But yeah, man. And outside of that, yeah, used to interesting times, I guess.
There you go. My shout out goes out to all those people who are actually making the market worth playing again. Because man, the markets have been basically been free up to this point. So I'm really glad that the population change has shifted to a much more workable level as far as what the market is. And yeah, I definitely want to hit up some more market topics in the near future. One thing I definitely want to work on as well is at least one time, I don't know if you guys are familiar, in the EVE world, we have this guy called Noisy Gamer, and he deals with the RMT side of things. And I definitely want to get him into the show eventually, talk about that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wish I actually had an opportunity to get him, I think 2 shows ago, but he wasn't able to, so. All right, so yeah, my shout outs go out to all the market dudes who may or may not have had a hand in making things more valuable. And shout out to just SBI, man. Thanks for dealing with the DDoS attacks. Thanks for making the gold sellers go away, and thanks for actually being very open to the community and giving us an opportunity to actually positively contribute to the game experience. Really appreciate it. Not a lot of game developers have that kind of relationship with their gamers, so really appreciate it. Awesome. Well, that's all we have. Thank you very much for all our viewers. Thank you very much for our guests. And hopefully we'll be back in 2 weeks, unless something really crazy happens and we have to make a show next week. I've been trying to be just like in this 2-week cadence, so we'll see.
Sweet.
All right, that's really all we got. We're gonna go ahead and cut it here. But hey, thank you very much for everyone for being here. Appreciate it.
Yes, man. And, see you next time, yeah.
Hey, guys.
Are we off the air?